You're here because this crazy guy thinks that 36 atom dollar cost average every single month will make me a millionaire. And yes, I'll just tell you out straight, is this true? Well, yes. And in today's video, I am going to break it down for you and my exact strategy. So if you have the time to spare the next 10 or so minutes, seriously, I urge you to take a listen because most people in this crazy industry are just too insane and degen to even bother, okay? But first, for those who don't know, what is one atom looking like right now? Let's break these values down. So one atom is more or less about $11 at today's prices. And if we break that 36 atom down a month into weekly amounts, well, that's only 9 atom a week, which right now is $99. Yes, this will fluctuate. But the brilliant thing about this strategy is it doesn't really matter. We're not looking for the short-term returns. As long as you can purchase, or I shouldn't say you, as long as I can purchase these amount of tokens every single week or month, doesn't really matter. The returns are going to be exponential with what we're looking at in the future, okay? And yes, that's more or less about $400 every single month. To some of you guys, that's unobtainable. That's crazy. To some of you, that's very easy and manageable. But the beautiful thing is it can be scaled down and it can be scaled up. The more you scale it down, the less profitable. Trust me, you're going to want to stay tuned to the very end because it still will be very, very profitable. For some of you guys, you can do double, triple that, okay? But the most important thing to remember is I am not a financial advisor. I might look like one, maybe, but I'm not a financial advisor, right? So don't take anything I say as financial advice. This is just me blogging pretty much, okay? I'm just sharing this to YouTube. All right, let's just jump into it straight away. So we need to do two things before we even bother with this strategy, okay? This is mental fortitude we're talking about, all right? So positioning. Now, I'm guessing most of you watching my channel, you're going to claim you're an investor. When you tell your friends and family what you do with crypto, you're an investor, right? Chances are you are watching this channel, right? So being a good investor is all about finding potential early and then setting up your return on investments, okay? You're not trying to scramble around trying to find what's trending right now. You're doing your research and you're hedging into that project. You're saying this project is going to do well in the future. I'm going to place my bets now as a good investor would, and then in the future, then you get your return on investment, right? You also need to find a visionary play. That's why I'm picking Cosmos for this video and why I'm doing this for Cosmos as well as other networks, I must admit. But Cosmos will be the subject of today's video because it's the internet of blockchains. And no, I'm not just investing because of the slogan. I've done my research, but Cosmos is a project I am looking at for the future, okay? I have that visionary aspect where I believe the project, based on what it's done in the past and doing now, I believe it will pick up steam in the future, okay? So that's why I believe in it for the very long term. It's not a short-term play. Next is maintaining conviction. You hear this word conviction all the time, right? You need to buy because of the vision, not because you have FOMO, right? So many people in crypto have this mentality, and I used to have it as well. I used to pull my phone out at work, and if it was negative 10% on the day, I used to feel sad, didn't want to talk to people. But if the next hour it was plus 10%, I was the most cheerful guy in the world. Get rid of that. Out the window, right? We want to be thinking completely different here, guys. We want to find the right project and position ourselves correctly because we believe in it for the long term. And then those negative 10, 20% days, you want to pull your phone out and put a smile on your face because you want to buy more, okay? You don't want to buy because of FOMO. If it goes up green, I'm going to say it's bad. It is good, of course, but you want to always buy more, right? But this strategy, we're not worried about that. We're looking at what I'm going to say next, which is weekly DCA, right? Sticking to a purchase schedule that will take the guesswork out of investing. That's why it's so brilliant with this strategy, is because as long as you buy that 9 atom a week or that 36 atom a month, right? And you continually do what I'm going to talk about in a second, which is compound those rewards, you don't have to worry about those up and down days. You might buy at 50% plus in price. You might get a really good discount. It doesn't matter. Buy at least those amount of tokens on whatever time frame you decide, monthly or weekly basis, okay? Now, the strategy itself is, well, compounding, right? Hear me out, okay? Compounding your rewards will return you exponential rewards. Might be thinking to yourself, hang on, that's just so plain and simple, but people in crypto don't do that because everyone is so focused on the smaller time frames. Everyone's in crypto because there's stigma around making quick and easy money. Well, a lot of us are visionaries and we believe in the future of crypto. So let's take some of our bets now, okay, on some of these promising protocols. Let's take a look at this video I prepared earlier and just see how amazing these compounded rewards really are, especially for Cosmos, okay, because Cosmos has some amazing APYs. First thing we're going to have to do is understand where we delegate our tokens because this will depend on what APR we get. Now, I've chosen a delegator with roughly the average APR, which is about 22.78%. There are definitely nodes that do offer higher rewards and lower rewards. This is kind of in the middle, but just keep in mind this definitely will change over time. The next thing we're going to do is assume that over the course of 12 months, considering we stake or delegate around 39 Atom tokens every single month, the total after 12 months will come to 432 Atom tokens, which is more or less about $4,734 US, again, after 12 months, okay? Now, take a look at this. After 1 year, if we have a look at this, in about 2025, we would have received around 98 Atom tokens for non-compounding, and if we compounded, 110 Atom, which is not much of a difference, I must say. It's about $150 odd. But just take a look at this. When we begin to increase the amount of time we begin to do this, well, it does grow exponential. So in about 3 years, the compounded amount is 417 Atom tokens versus the non-compounded of 292. Don't worry, if you're losing me, we're going to break this all down in just a second. But wait, it definitely gets a lot better. In 5 years' time, the non-compounded Atom tokens will be 490 Atom versus compounded, which is 912, pretty much double. Now, if we go right over to 10 years' time, which is why I would say find a project to be convicted in for this amount of time, we are looking at a 979 Atom tokens rewarded to non-compounders, and for compounders, a whopping 3,729 Atom tokens. Now keep in mind, this is if the price of Atom stays the same, as you can see over here, between the next 5 to 10 years, which, let's face it, we can expect a minimum of 10 to 20x even in the next 5 years. The really beautiful thing about this website that I'm looking at right now is it actually does tell you when you should be looking at restaking your tokens, and in this case, for the amount of Atom we are staking, being that initial amount of around 432, we should be restaking our tokens and compounding them every 12 days and approximately 9 minutes, which will increase our reward from 22.77% to 25.45%. But just remember, the best thing to do is continually compounding your rewards every chance you can get. If you want the link to this website, go in the description down below. The most important thing to remember is when you do decide to delegate any of your tokens to any sort of node, that you're very careful who you choose, because if they misbehave, you could have your tokens slashed and you will just never see them before again, okay? So it's very important that you do your own research into the node. You don't just pick a random one because it's the highest reward. Sometimes the one that's offering the highest reward can be the most dangerous, okay? So you definitely want to make sure that you're constantly going back and forth, and it's very important to also remember that these nodes aren't going to be around for the next 10 years, even 3 years, right? So you need to constantly check, as I said in the video behind me, you know, sometimes it's important when you're compounding as well. You're pretty much in there as much as possible. That calculator reckons every 12 days and 9 minutes, whatever that's supposed to mean, right? But pretty much every week you should be in there when you're, you know, dollar cost averaging more, re-compounding your rewards, okay? That's very important, because if the node also closes off and you get return your rewards, and so you're not staking anymore for that, you know, 1 week or 2 weeks, whatever it might be, right? That's you losing money, and that's exponential money. It has a ripple effect into the future, okay? So you need to be there constantly checking and making sure your node's behaving, and also that you're obviously actually staking your tokens, right? So let's go into this now. The video's gone on for long enough, so let's just talk briefly about what I mentioned in that video, okay? So the power of compounding, right? So after 12 months, if we start today and look into before the next bull market, we're staking every single month, we will come to a total of 432 Atom tokens, right? Which is about this much money, okay? That's quite a bit of money over 12 months, but if you're a heavy coffee drinker or smoker, guys, you know, sacrifice a little bit, because you're going to see some pretty crazy numbers in a sec, right? So after 12 months, if we don't compound at all and just let our rewards just build up, we're only going to get $1,000. But if we compound over 12 months, yeah, okay, we're only getting $132 more, right? That's not really the crazy part. The crazy part comes now, right? Exponential returns. So as we saw in the video, you know, 5 years regular is about 5,300, but if we compound, we're pretty much doubling that, right? We're getting an extra $4,600, which works out to be about $2,000 every single year. So we're starting to see the fruits of our labor already starting to come to fruition, right? Then we come down to 10 years, right? We have regular at 984 tokens. That's not a bad amount still, but 10 years, it's $1,000 a year, not that great. Compounded, we're talking at, you know, a plus 30,000 more rewards, right? So that's $41,000 we actually receive. But the really crazy thing, as you saw, is that this is only, you know, considering that the Atom stays the same price, $11, which, let's face it, over 10 years, we can pretty confidently assume Atom's not going to be $11 still, right? It's going to be a lot more. So what I factored in here is a minimum of 20x. Now, considering that Atom is actually a true visionary play and I have conviction in this project and I do everything I need to do over the course of time, well, guess what? If it plays out how I expect it to, it's going to go a lot higher than just a 20x, all right? It's going to be actually adopted because, you know, by the next 10 years, only the really good projects will rise. The rest will pretty much be obsolete and completely destroyed and gone, okay? So Atom would most likely be at that point a minimum 40x, but let's just be conservative here. And that's a whopping $830,000 reward, okay? So these are some fun facts for you. All right, so Atom has about 68% of the network staking right now, which is quite a substantial amount. They also have an average delegation reward, as I said before, of 22.78. Again, we're gonna have some higher and some lower. Also, inflation on the network does vary quite frequently. Right now, it's about 16%, but it does vary between these. So what we really need to do is find, as I said down here on my little roadmap, this just gives you a brief example of what to do yourself, right? You need to find what the reward is for staking or bonding, which is, let's just say 30%. You also need to find the inflation rate, okay? And then you pretty much minus the inflation rate from how much you're being rewarded, and that truly is how much you're actually earning, okay? So people get kind of confused. The inflation rate will just pretty much diminish your rewards, and the difference is your actual rewards, okay? And a little thing I like to look at is the burn mechanism. Some projects will have a burn mechanism on each transaction. And then the really cool thing is you can look at when that burn mechanism will kind of eclipse the inflation rate. So protocols like Near Protocol or Moonbeam, for example, like burn 30% of every transaction, right? If the inflation rate comes to, a billion tokens coming out every single year, well, you can do some maths and go, well, there needs to be 10 billion transactions on the network every single year with 30% of every single transaction being burnt for, the burn mechanism to pretty much burn that amount of tokens every single year. Okay, so when that happens, that's when it so-called, eclipses the inflation rate. Therefore, your tokens become, they're deflationary by you just holding them, right? You're earning more from just holding the tokens. Now, this also can be the same said for projects that have a fixed supply like Hedera Hashgraph or Quant Network, where there's only X amount of tokens, and you can kind of confidently say, as long as all the tokens vest in, whatever it might be, 1 year, 5 years, that then is your kind of eclipse stage where demand will increase up exponentially. And so this is where the last part comes in, is you need to dollar cost average whenever it might be to anticipate that shift where the demand is still going up, but the supply has stopped or is going down, and that's kind of where you can have a shoot up in price, right? You match that with you being convicted and compounding over the years, and that is pretty much going to go parabolic. Not financial advice, of course, right? Now, we're going to close up here, guys. Simply said, compounding returns is super powerful only when you match that with a promising project and your own conviction. If there's anything you're going to learn from this video, it's this, right? You need to find a promising project that you believe in for the long term, and then you need to truly be convicted, right? Just like you wake up every morning and read that book, whatever it might be, make your bed. Conviction. All right, guys. And that said, I don't have any other videos on, breaking down Atom. Okay, so the 2 videos on your screen now will be my 2 latest videos for you, but I really do hope that you go watch them because you're going to learn even more. Okay, with that being said, thanks so much for sticking through right to the very end, and I will look forward to seeing you all on my next video. Take care, guys. Bye.